I believe one of the reasons why I was asked to moderate is because of my gray hair. And the gray hair was born out of many years of being in the trenches. Over 20 years of being in the trenches here after my former life. I don't know if you know, I was an accountant in my former life. But I'm in a new life now. And this new life has been exciting, but it creates gray hair. One of the things we did along the line, all this idea of value chain, value chain, value chain. So we experimented. In fact, thank you, we had people like Dr. Kudzai to support at the time. They said Nigeria Railway was coming on board. So we now decided to test them. We also used crates. And we brought in 1,600 crates of tomato from Kaduna. Kaduna is the hub of the rail system. It arrived here, instead of the 26 hours they told us, it arrived here 42 hours thereafter. But it arrived in a completely covered wagon. By the time we opened it, the entire tomato was well cooked. If you had a bag, you can just straight on and have good food. Everything was lost. We tried the second one. Fortunately, they gave us an open wagon, but somewhere just outside Lokoja, the train going up north derailed. This one can therefore not come past. To remove the derailed train took 48 hours. Remember, there is no refrigeration. I don't tell any more of the story. Let's leave it at that. Now, another issue you raised, Dr. Ojo, and I'm glad that today raised it as well, is the issue of bringing goods from the north with refrigeration. You highlighted the issue, and I'm glad that my friend from My 12 is there. We made an arrangement with APNT, Maersk. Have you heard of Maersk? Yes. Right. They have these refrigerated trailers going up north and coming back empty. No, so we loaded it with 850 crates. It arrived here. We were so excited, straight to My 12. When we opened it, it was cool. And we were so proud of it. Then we invited the people now to buy. They came. One of them first shouted, "We have never seen sweating tomato in our lives." The news spread around that there must be something wrong with the tomato because it was sweating. We had problems on that, trying to convince people that there was nothing, no juju inside that was making it sweat. It took a long time. Instead of selling it in a few hours, we sold in 2 days. The APNT said, go and fix your people next. These are issues I'm trying to present to us from my practical knowledge of this. But among those is the fact that things are beginning to change. Let us see how we here, the first thing that's happened, the big change that's come, that we're talking about creating the value chain. We're all putting all the eggheads in Nigeria coming together to come up with a solution. I now want to ask, first, it's a pity that it's the banker that's on my right. Tell us, please, what are the things we were doing wrong and you're helping us to do right to ensure that we become part of the real system, not one that tells us where we are always wrong. Would you please take us through that? Thank you. And your practical solution.
So, I've attended a lot of events on value chain, and I've been opportune to be at the first OTACCWA summit. And at that summit, we had issues with lending. Commercial banks and development finance institutions lending to this real sector, this value chain. like Dr. just said, it's not that we don't want to, or the banks don't want to lend, or Bank of Industry doesn't want to lend, but there's been this critical thing hanging on all over every SME's head, which is collateral. And because we really want to solve the problem, it has taken me a lot of time as an individual that is passionate about seeing this value chain come to reality, to discuss with other development partners and say, see, we have these grants, these donations, these aids. They are there, but they don't make as much impact as we want them to. They're very good, they're fantastic, but let's turn these grants into what we call grant collateral. So the money is always there. So it does not come as a one-off donation. It doesn't come as, I give you this money, then find a way to pivot. Because when you buy these assets, most times, because of the kind of ecosystem we have, we've not been able to develop it properly to have end-to-end. Commercial banks or Bank of Industry will not want to take that movable asset as a form of collateral. That movable asset that was funded by a grant finance. But that $10,000, if we have $10,000 allocated, it becomes 1 million USD. If we put it in a fund management, right, it becomes, on the strength of that 1 million USD, the banks will lend. It might not be 100% cover, it can be 80-85% cover. At least the banks will be willing to take some form of risk, knowing that there is a form of cover somewhere. Most SMEs don't have land and building. It is the fact. Those that have, the rigors of registering this asset it's mind-blowing. But if we have solutions like this, we have the...
Which solution?
What is what I'm saying? A grant collateral.
Grant collateral, that's the hybrid. Grant collateral.
So it becomes a blended fee.
That means that the grants that come will be used as collateral.
Yes.
But the collateral is still collateral. So the bank has sacrificed nothing.
No, we're saying the
banks
will be willing to, on the strength of that, because it's a cash base, the banks will be willing to take up to 15-20% risk. I mean, this risk is, they're not the owners of this money. They're your money that you placed in as fixed deposits. We don't want to risk your money because you will call for it. If the banks have high non-performing loans,
yes,
it is going to affect the depositors.
We know. All right. Okay. So, we're coming back to you. Let's now go back to Mr. John Filaku. Will you please tell us how people who leave this place today, because I'm coming back to her, what I would have expected her to tell me was, look, we know there's capital costs involved in this value chain issue, in establishing maybe solar panels, in establishing buying cold rooms and having these vehicles. We shall provide leasing facility at a reasonable price. That's the kind of thing we're looking at. Please carry on, Dr.
Thank you for ascribing me and putting the doctor there. I think just to build up from what the banker has said, I come from the donor perspective and from the donor environment. It is good if the grants that are coming, you want to keep them as a collateral. Well, that is something maybe in future could be looked at, because donor funds precisely in supporting SMEs. It is really not supposed to be like a capital as it is. However, maybe times are changing, so probably donors may look at it in that perspective. But having been on this panel today, just to speak a bit on what the lead presenter was talking about, and he did mention about SMEs in terms of financing. I think what we should be focusing on for us as donor agencies is really to provide funds for the SMEs, probably to enlarge their cost in terms of their own organizational setup. Therefore, for I as a donor, I wouldn't have much money to come and give it to an SMEs to probably provide the cold chain that we're talking about. But there are essential things that SMEs could approach donors in terms of funding for some aspects of building their capacity, for example. So as a donor, what do I expect to do? I would like SMEs to really be sustainable in terms of their existence. And how will I do that? If you approach a donor, and probably a donor funded or a grant organization, there are key elements you'll be looking at in terms of sustaining your business or the existence of your business. That could be in terms of most of the SMEs, you really may not have the required systems that a bank will really want to check, because it's sometimes not just the collateral, but they want to see that the funds that I'm giving to you, will you effectively manage this? So if I, as a donor, provide funds for you to be able to strengthen your systems, to ensure that your business is sustainable, that would be fine. And also, even in terms of financial management, there are some SMEs that may really not even have the requisite skills in terms of managing their finances. So just like what the lead speaker spoke about, it would be nice for us to see SMEs having some very strong financial system. So donor funding can be approached to do this. And I'm sure as an organization, and basically from my own experience, that is what we have been doing and will continue to do as far as the resources and the donors who provide these funds are there. We'll continue to support them. And of course, even for some technological skills, we have gone past a level of where most of the SMEs just do their business. So is there anything that a donor can come in to support in developing some of these technical skills that we're talking about in terms of even cold chain as it is? There are a couple of people who might want to invest, but do they have the required technical skills? Donors will want to provide funds for this to happen. And I just want to anchor by saying that even for what the banker is talking about, how many of these SMEs know how to put up a proposal for the funds that they are looking at? My role as a donor will be to provide that level of expertise to ensure that these people are able to draft even a proposal that will go to the bank looking at the business models that they wanted to take. Essentially, he pointed out this. So as... Are you doing that now? I am going, of course we are doing
going to, or you have...
We are doing it. And I can talk to Gain, for example. Okay. We have supported even the setting up of about 6, cool chains in Nigeria today. Yes. And just like what Okora has been doing, it is all in that line that we've been doing. As much as it is, if we have a lot of opportunities coming up, we're happy to provide that. If you come to my office and say, as an SME, come and help me set up my financial management system. In most cases, I can devote that time and do it. I will have done that, I will continually to do. Therefore, at this point, I will just say that as donor-funded organizations, we will continue to, and will, as far as the resources are there, to support SMEs to put up very good coaches. Because my heart bleeds, even with the state I come from, Benue, we produce a whole lot of food, but some of these things are not there. So with time, we will continue as donor-funded organizations to support in the hallmark of repositioning SMEs to further access funds to provide coaches. I thank you very much.
There's still a lot of structure that is going on internally with at the organizing body, the authority. When it comes into full force, it is there, but it is not. It's almost like you have the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, but it's not yet in full force. The banks will willingly use the asset registry. I think Bank of Industry is one of those clamoring to use it ASAP. because as much as we understand that there's this collateral thing hanging, the bank, as a bank, I'm talking about Bank of Industry, is looking for ways to quickly resolve this issue so that they can lend more to mostly the micro and the small enterprise. Those are the ones that they feel are a little bit, let me use this very harsh word, disenfranchised when it comes to funding. But I am sure when it comes into full force, Bank of Industry will be one of the forerunners of the asset registry.
Okay. Next question. So I will take the next question because there is a power on this. All right. So it's more so first just to put a when the banking system was set up, they have their own system that has worked. We don't expect them to change for us because they're making their money somewhere else. Now, the agribusiness, the cold chain bit, it is an ecosystem business. Getting an SME and giving them a cold room, they're good, but they still have to sell to somebody. And if they're not selling, that money is not coming back. So most financial institutions, what they don't really ask or say outrightly, they want to see from end to end. Where is your support system? Are you able to pay back? What's your cash flow? What is your experience? They're not going to tell you this upfront, but from the production bit, so basically breaking the whole value chain into production, aggregation, and the market. Everything starts on the market. You show up and say, look, ShopRite comes behind you and says, I'm going to give you a contract of 50 million a month. Any bank will listen. It doesn't mean they'll give you money upfront, but they'll say, come, how far? Because ShopRite has a brand name and they have this weight behind them. That is that first ecosystem. There has to be the big brother that helps the small guys to move to the production and the money flows. So they might give the SME money, but it's based on the bigger people behind it. And what does ShopRite have? Because they have the money, they have the track record, and they have the brand image. That is just what it is. So when we are speaking, we should speak, to the point where look at everything as an ecosystem. We, for my own business, we started from just supplying to the ShopRites and the likes, but we couldn't grow beyond that because without the backing of the bigger, or we ourselves get bigger. And now, well, we're on our way there. We're actually now supporting other people because I can't go everywhere. I need those up and coming guys, and they need. So it's an ecosystem thing. So it's not much of a question, but just more of a statement to say, look, we practice here every day. Those tomatoes that you say are there losses every day, I see them every day. I mean, it happens. You make, you lose, all those things happen. So at the end of the day, even grants, I'm not for free money, to be honest with you. Yeah. Free money doesn't last. We need, Nigerians show them the opportunity to make it work. So source of funding that we're having now is crowdfunding. I mean, that's a different case, but you have the farm crowd, you have the different, but the thing is, they're making something work. Yeah. That, at the end of the day, is ecosystem-wise. Cold chain helps with the transportation and the preservation to protect the value, so you make the money that you're guaranteed, not lose. So anyway, it's just my thought process on that, and look at it from the ecosystem.
Before we go to the second one, just to back you up on that.
All right.
There is a new thinking, I think we want to further develop. Yeah. It was created by accident by the impossibility of getting the banks to support the agricultural sector. Yeah. They are now having this farm crowdy mentality coming up. Yeah. Yeah. And if you talk to them, you see how proactive, how they understand, how they live with you. They are small, but they are very effective. Yes. And they understand I think that's another area we should find a way of developing. My fear is the possibility that the bankers committee will come together and sit down with Amefile and they will make laws that will make such farm crowding not to exist anymore. But so we're going to keep an eye on it. Yes. Please, second question.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Right, thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Ijewere, for the recognition. But I can only take that on behalf of those who are actually doing the work. Dr. Gurua and Oduak were engaging with you guys all the time. So, but thank you. My question.
But you permitted them. God bless you.
Thank you. My question actually is it's somewhere in between the first two questions. And I know that Victoria is the only banker on the panel, but I think I would like people, other bankers in the room, to actually respond to that question. And the question really, if I want to encapsulate it, is we're talking about some processes and ideas that we've talked about over some time. DFI guarantees, potential, maybe even grant guarantees, other ways of looking at collateral. What is it that is going on currently now? How are the banks actually responding to this? If they're not responding, what is the issue? But also, let's think about this broadly. A number of the SMEs in the room don't really have a need for bank finance. And there are other ways of financing. And I suspect that will come out in the conversations that we go through. So people should not just think it's banks. There are so many other ways that you can finance your investment, but where the banks are the ones that are the appropriate people to lend. And we're trying to unlock all of this, these instruments and policy measures to try and make it easier. Why is it not working? Or if it's working, let's hear about it so that people know that, yes, it's actually working. Some of us are already beginning to use this asset guarantee, asset register, and we're doing this and we're doing that because it's important for us to hear that.
Yeah, I think the suggestion you've come and makes a lot of sense. We have Sterling Bank here, we have Keystone Bank here. Don't go and hide behind Victoria. Now, say your own, then she will now round it all up. Yes. First, is that Keystone? Which one is that? Sterling, speak first, then Keystone follows.
Okay, so, sorry, let me. Okay. Sterling Bank.
As you go on, I had rumor that Sterling Bank does not fund, but please, clean your heart.
My name is Jubril Adeojo. I represent Sterling Bank. Sterling Bank is actually one of the banks supporting agreement, both from the intervention funds of the CBN angle and the on-balance sheet funding. And I can tell us this morning that our participation in agreement is almost about 10% of our balance sheet. Mr. Pilapo mentioned about capacity building. I don't want us to focus too much attention on collateral or security as it were, because normally in lending, that is the last kind of thing you want to talk about. Okay, we talk about capacity building. If I have a customer who is an agreed businessman and he has experience and I can speak to his performance over time, all of those things, cash flow is ready there. I can do, and fortunately we have Nazal Grant in this place this morning that issue credit guarantee, and they also give interest drawback program within their guarantee. For example, if you're a farmer and you are having a commercial...
Please zero in on how you can help this cold chain.
Yes.
This cold chain. What are your ideas? What are you giving us today as what we should look forward to?
Yes,
from your bank?
In my bank, we focus right now on what we call HEART, H-E-A-R-T, Health, Education, Agri, Renewable Energy and Transportation. And I want to believe that renewable energy, as they have mentioned, and transportation, all of them are part of the value chain that can support our cold chain. So my bank will be willing, if I'm able to establish the fact that the person I'm going to finance can perform and can pay my money back within a reasonable time.
What's that time?
OTACCWA. Sterling Bank has spoken. They are ready to support all your members and this industry. They have said it publicly. I hope they are recorded. Thank you very much. Now, can we now go to Keystone? Let's hear Keystone. Keystone. Yes, all about it. All right, please carry on. Keystone.
The bank is doing that, the bank is supporting. But I want to mention this, from members' point of view of this organization, you need to come up with a bankable proposal as well. And looking at banks, I want you to know that banks, we do not lend based on security. The most important thing to any bank is the cash flow of the project. And also the assurance that the funds they're giving out, will definitely come back. But to be honest with you, when it comes to the issue of security, the bank cannot run away from it. Because apart from the fact that it is, the law requires it. The law requires it. Because the law requires that before any bank gives out a loan, it has to be collateralized, And also beyond that, even the financial reporting aspect of it, that IFRS 9, does not permit even any financial institution, to give out a facility without collateral. So those are the issues. But looking at the whole thing, the key thing for any member to do is to come up with a bankable proposal and also to ensure that the cash flow, of that business can support your business.
What can you do for the cold chain? What are your thoughts? You've heard Dr. Okoro spoke, Mr. Okoya spoke, and you also have Dr. Adeojo. They all spoke of specific areas. Where will Keystone be coming in? Where will they be putting the key?
Okay, specifically, Keystone, where we can come in, we're ready to support. We can do all asset debenture for you. You can come together as a group and assess funds. We also give out agri loan. These are the areas we can collaborate and need to look at critically.
Thank you very much. I think OTACCWA, you've heard what they have said. You have recorded them, and we're going to follow. What's the name again?
My name is Richard Ogunaya.
Ogunaya is right there. I can spell it for you. So he said all asset debenture. That means no collateral. No collateral, right? Yeah. You heard that? Never mind. Yeah. Okay. I hope that's it. Then we go back. Then we come back. He has that question before we hijack. Which one? Okay. Yes.
Mr. Chairman, the views on Express are no way related to my employer. Can we decide to be disruptive in this room this morning? To all the bankers, Keystone, Sterling, Nassau, BOI, Victoria, we have an outstanding meeting, you and I. Look at the number of people in this room. This is to the banks. Look at the number of, it's overflowing with interest in coaching. Annually, Nigeria is importing about 16 billion naira worth of tomatoes. Is that not a valuable market for the banks? Why is it not the money that you have in your coffers and you're not lending them out to the SMEs, the farmers, the organizations in the cold chain value chain? We know that there is interest. Dr. Ijewere said that he brought tomatoes from the north to the market. Within 2 days, they were sold in a cold trap, right? So we know that the produce that is going to go in the cold chain definitely will be bought. Every year, Nigeria is importing about $45 million worth of tomatoes. Why doesn't the bank, or why doesn't the banking industry sit down and get together? You know what the risks are. See how you can design solutions, innovations, interventions, work around with the SMEs so that we can tap into this 16 billion naira worth of market. How much is anyone who comes to borrow money from you at 20% going to pay at about 3-5 years time? We know that the problem of post-harvest losses is increasing every year. At the same time, our population is also growing. No one is waiting for us. OTACCWA again conducted a coaching market. Mr. Okoya mentioned that we are 250,000 cubic meters. Nigeria needs today not less than 20 million cubic meters of cold storage capacity. Today we don't have 1 million cubic meters. it's an infrastructure problem and there's a financing gap. I think that Mr. Ijewere, we should probably lock the bankers in the room today and place an embargo that if they don't help us develop a solution today, we don't let them go home.
Thank you very much. Now, actually, the key word in you, what you said here, is disruptive. Yes. The bankers should stop telling us what they've always told us. They must be disruptive in their own mind. How do we change the narration? How do we change it? How do we make it work? Don't leave it, but I think the whole idea of blocking them off is something we should consider. All right, now we've had all the questions.
Let me help the bankers on one side, that we all know. And I said I have experience with at least 22 banks, they won't say. The thing is, they are making more money from other places. Why fix what is not broken? They have not been pushed to the wall to where their income is dependent on lending to SMEs and such. So it's simple. CBN gives you money, you borrow CBN at whatever rate. It's easy money. I would probably even say is that anti-banker. The cocoa is, see, there are alternative ways to make money. We're in the business of making money. Is that plain and simple? It's now our job to see either we can work with your system or find another way out. At the end of the day, we must move forward. We can go around here dancing, and I mean, I spent at least 2 years dealing with banks. We can go around dancing and dancing around. It's not going to work. So, I guess something must have triggered and you want to say something to that.
Very good lawyer. This one is the service provider.
Good morning, all. The gentleman, the endorsement team, was in my situation. How many years ago?
Probably like 3 years.
On this same issue. You see, let me just tell you my experience this week. I had not that I want to buy 89 trucks. I put them into operation. I have a contract signed by this PLC company. I approached 5 banks last week or this week. Let me use this debenture. Let me use these trucks. They were bought new, and I bought them, took it over from a company. 89 trucks. Farming is using them. SPA have a contract for SPA. 3. Cornerstone, how many? 16. Signed. I approved banks. 5 banks. With this debenture, no, one couple. So the issue of talking, these people will talk. It's very bad. They've got the what we are saying. But the people are, because they have free money, as you mentioned, collect money and play. So if we are talking to these people, well, sorry, it's not waste of time. But we should organize until we invite MDs, directors, that we know.
Just a follow-up on that. I consider myself in a privileged position. Being there at the beginning of OTACCWA. Nigeria Agribusiness Group is one of those that supported the whole idea of OTACCWA. And actually, Nigeria Agribusiness Group now has a seat in the Economic Summit Group, the Economic Management Team. So whatever OTACCWA is putting together here, specifically, because the governor of the central bank is going to be there, be clear as to what direction you want to go on this value chain business. Hand it over to NABG, who are your partners in ensuring that this is done. We carry it forward. You were right when you said dealing with these bankers. In the first place, we have a problem. Whenever we have something like this, the executive directors don't come from the banks. But if we had something here today about an oil company, the MD will be here. Is that not true? Yes. That's exactly, those are the practical things we are talking about. Yes, the gentlemen have come, the gentlemen and the ladies have come here. We thank you for coming. But whatever we do here, you will not have to write report if it will ever be read. So let us bypass that. we are now also being disruptive. Let us put everything we've gotten together today. And we shall say here today, Keystone was here. We shall say that this other one, Sterling was here. Who else was here? Fidelity. Is Fidelity here?
Yes.
I mean, no, it is here, right? So, yes, denied Fidelity. All right. Then, whatever the case may be, I think that's the way forward. Dr. Korwa, they look at the point we are making here. This is not a place where we have come to talk and go. There must be outcomes of what we have come to do here. Please, I think the meeting is, now that they are now getting up with ministers now, I think it's easier for the vice president now to listen to one who attached to somebody. Let us have that to carry through. Agriculture is now taking a new turn in Nigeria because even this government has come to realize that the survival of this country is in agriculture, not in the oil industry anymore. Let's take advantage of that by being disruptive. The finance one, we've heard all that is being said. We're not going to spend too much time on that. They are partners, they are friends, but we need to work together. But we must survive as well, not only the bankers. We have 25% increase every year in the balance sheet. And we have 30% decrease in our own balance sheet every year. Okay, now the way we leave this side and go to that side, you will be coming back. You'll be coming back to defend the banking industry. I know you are ready to answer. Okay? All right, I promised earlier that you will round it up quickly.
Okay, so I want to quickly answer to Mr. Michael Ojo. So we know that there are some instruments scattered all over the place by donor agencies and some development partners. And that is why SME and BITC are trying to create an ecosystem whereby these instruments are put together and we can use them. SMEs can have access to this information. Most times what happens is these SMEs, they don't have access to this information. They don't know that, I know that GAIN does some form of guarantee for up to 50%. They don't have this kind of information. But if we're able to put up this ecosystem, it will provide the kind of support that the cold chain requires. That is one. Secondly, I'm talking more about collateral, not because capacity building is undermined, but because I know that the organizers of OTACCWA or the supporters of OTACCWA are very big with capacity building. Over the years, Plan has done a lot in capacity building, and I know that anybody Plan is bringing forward for funding, for financing, they have duly built the capacity for them. They have several training and programs that they've put in place. Before Dr. Okorowa would say, Victoria, look at this organization, he knows what he's talking about. But why I was talking about the collateral part is because this has been the stumbling block between us, between OTACCWA members and the financial institution. I'm not a banker, I'm a financial advisor. So, so we have, so we're working with SME funds to create this ecosystem. And BOI is really big when it comes to funding the agri sector. They have done a lot. If you look at the likes of Amobin today, the last annual Bank of Industry have supported these people. The Natnudo value, the Natnudo cold chain, it was funded by Bank of Industry. I mean, Bank of Industry funds, is passionate about it. And CBN has also given a policy that banks should fund the agri sector. If they don't fund up to 30% of their balance sheet to agri, they will be penalized 50% of that. So if you say that the financial sector is not doing enough to support agribusiness, I would say that is not entirely fair.
Sorry, sir, I'm just going to quickly add one, because we talk a lot about the ecosystem, and there are people in this room that also represent another part of the ecosystem. I'm talking about the OEM providers. We're talking about the transporters, the transport companies like Thermo-King. We're talking about John Taylor, the compressor suppliers. We're talking of MDS. So when we talk about the ecosystem as well, we need to bring them into the picture. Because when it comes to assets, cold room assets, pack house, for instance, you can't export, for instance, without a pack house. So when we talk about diversifying sources of income for the country, you need a pack house, for instance. So what role can the other OEM suppliers play in the ecosystem? We're talking about after-sales service maintenance, guarantees, and so on and so forth. Because if you lend money to an SME to manage a cold room asset, for instance, it needs to be maintained. So eventually, when we hear from the other room, we'd like to get feedbacks from the OEM representatives in this room, and we'd like to hear their perspectives as well. Thank you very much. So please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Greg. People are dying to hear from you after because they've heard of this one and they just round it up. Greg, let's hear from you. They are anxious to hear. Tell them solutions. Show them the light. Because all of them are worried. You can see, right? We've been talking and talking. Tell us solutions. God bless you.
Thank you, Chair. And good morning to all of you, and thank you very much for the opportunity to be with you. It's my third time in Lagos, and I'm very pleased to be here.
Where did you come from?
I live in Switzerland, and it's from GAIN headquarters, so I'm here supporting Michael and team.
Whatever you discuss here, you carry straight to Switzerland. Is that correct?
So, what I'm about to share is really a perspective coming from what we can do, from afar to support the local actions here. And the issues I'm hearing, I'm listening to these discussions, are not dissimilar to what we're dealing with in our other country offices in East Africa. I spent a year there last year. So what are we doing, practically speaking, as a not-for-profit, non-governmental organization from headquarters working with our country team here? 4 things. Firstly, we're understanding the pipeline, the cold chain pipeline, trying to understand the segmentation of the industry, and I think and I hope that the banks and the financiers that are out there, they need this information. They need to better understand the industry. So that's what we can do with our grant funding, is segment, build a pipeline, and hopefully turn that into a deal book that helps bankers understand where they can invest. And incidentally, I really liked your sweating tomato story. I hope my next trip here, there's a new cold chain business called The Sweating Tomato. It's a great, that would be a great name. Anyway, secondly, we can use our grant funding to provide free technical assistance. Our experience in Kenya was we worked with a bank to unlock a long-term concessional loan for a business. And what did they like? They liked the idea that GAIN was hand-holding the investee for the tenure of the loan. So I think we can have these kind of letter of commitments with banks as well. We can provide technical assistance like Plan is already doing. The third thing that I think we can do is provide monitoring and measurement on impact. So the financial piece will be done by the investors, but GAIN can help provide metrics. What does it mean when we invest in cold chain? And by the way, why are we not looking at the environmental aspects more as well? All this impact investment coming in on environment and climate change, well, if we can reduce by 100% some of the loss, then this is going to have incredible greenhouse gas emission reduction implications. And then the fourth thing is ecosystems. What I mean by that is enabling environment, fiscal policies, working with the government and the regulators of Nigeria. GAIN is well placed to do that, and we're going to continue to do that. We're going to raise funds to work with the regulators so that there's incentives built in for better cold chain and penalties as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Before I call on Jubril, all of us, let us not forget why we are here. We have to, you see this name, I am getting used to it, it's difficult. So when I don't remember how to say, I just simply say OTACCWA. All of us must read it in full start. All together, Organization for Technology Advancement of Cold Chain in West Africa. OTACCWA. Thank you very much. Now go on.
Thank you so much. Greg, amazing points. I mean, it was as if you saw my point. I will just highlight 5 to 7 points. Try to wrap it up. First of all, please, SMEs, let's stop blaming the banks. It's so important to stop that, okay? what works so well in Nigeria and Africa, right, is just pick one person and do it well and make noise. Backwagon, everybody wants to come back to you. We should not make noise to attract people to be part of it, like we're doing, like we want to do. Let's just pick one bank. We just need one bank that can start this journey with us. Like Greg rightly said so well, that it's not about funding yet. We need that bank that will work with this ecosystem to start to develop the pipelines, to incubate this entire conversation, okay? So, in terms of collateral, I think the first thing is for us to even define what that collateral is about. It's not about the property. It's just what if something happens, what is my fallback? That is it. So in this case, we're saying collateral is still there, fine. But we're saying we bring in guarantees to come in here. That's it. In terms of collateral registry, ladies and gentlemen, collateral registry was not set up to enable banks to collect other collaterals. It's just a registry. It's just a registry to have so that the central bank or anybody anywhere would know the number of the value of collateral that has been pledged across the industry. That's it. And sorry. Again, when you are saying that when you blame the bank will not be defensive. When you say CBN said that they should lend to the agri space, they're forgetting that Obasanjo farms, Adimarket, Dangote, I'm saying now, they're also in the agricultural space. If they lend to them, they can claim that they've lent to the sector. Now, the question now is that our sector is what we call the sustainable agriculture space. It's different. So let's talk to them from that angle. We should not tell them that, but CBN said you should do that. They will tell you, okay, but I'm doing it. And finally, to conclude, the way I see it is this. So the financial donor, there's money to build that incubation, that pipeline of bankable deals, which is what we're trying to do. And of course, the SMEs might not necessarily afford us. So that is where we need to work together to develop that pipeline. But we now have to appoint one or two banks, honestly. One or two banks. I'm very sure if I ask most people here, someone will know the MD of one bank. That's what we need, though. We don't need to call everybody here. One bank that can understand what we want to achieve, that is so concerned about the social impact and climate change. Just one bank, and that we're not asking that bank to give us money now. All we're asking that bank is to join us in that journey of developing the pipeline. Every bank will say yes to that, but let's pick one bank. So we pick one bank, and we now develop, this is what I do very well, which is to develop innovative funding structure. That's what I do so well. The reason why I resigned from the commercial bank 4 months ago was because I saw that gap in the entire value chain, and that gap was miscommunication between the bankers and developers. This is what I do. So that is what we are asking for. We need a bank that can join us on this journey to develop these pipelines. They will not develop a funding structure. It could be BOI, it could be with CBN. I've led a lot of funds with CBN before, many times, new funds. That's what we need. Then once we do that one transaction, we will not make noise. Trust me, all the banks will come to us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. First, it is not us in this room that told the bank what the central bank they should say. They and central bank are one, they talk to each other. Why should we be the one to tell them what central bank said? They are members of the same family. The issue you raised about, let's make an example. OTACCWA, choose which bank that maybe we improve on that. Choose 3 banks and see which one of them is best. If you make noise with 3 banks, it's still good enough. Yes. Choose particular banks. Some of them have put their necks on the line. BOI has said they are ready. Keystone said they are ready. Sterling has said they are ready. Fidelity is not too comfortable, so they have not spoken. So if they are, then we shall see. That's the suggestion we're coming, because everything we discuss here today, we must be definite as to what we are taking away with us. So they are now open again for questions and observations. Nobody will have more than 1 minute. You know, we have this key for locking anybody in this room, especially the bankers. Well, you two can be locked in this room if you keep us away for too long. Yes, who are the people? How many people want to talk?
Sir,
yes.
Well, as we go around, I want all sectors in this room
to say something.
Yes. Before the break, we talked about the ecosystem we talked about the banks, commercial banks, developing finance institutions, government regulators, and the OEMs. So we've heard from the banks, we've heard from the developing finance institutions. I would like to hear from the OEMs, if that's okay with everybody, if you don't mind. Just some comments from those that provide the service. John, do you want to say something, please?
My name is Larry from SATEC. I think
what does SATEC do?
SATEC is an OEM who represent Emerson compressors and Biza compressors, and also CR evaporator in Nigeria. You mentioned earlier that having the cold room, we also need to maintain it. And part of the problem we are having is the fact these compressors we are talking about are really expensive. And availability is also another thing. When the cold room is having fault, do you have the compressor, the size of ground, the model that you want to use? Most of the people that have cold room end up using the fairly used one, because as an OEM representative, you can't keep stock of those kind of compressor in Nigeria. Part of what we're looking at is bank also supporting the agent representing these compressors manufacturer in Nigeria. We need to keep those things here, and they are really expensive. I think we need bank to support in that direction.
Before you go on, it's not enough to just talk generally. The organization, the way you have spoken, does it have statistics of what is the quantity of compressors we have in Nigeria? What kind of quantity do we need in an ideal situation? What do we need to achieve that goal? Because if you come here and say it's expensive, we know. So you two should be part of this information gathering and providing data. It's so easy for us to hold other people responsible. Jubril, who is a former banker, or rather still a banker, was pretending to stop criticizing them. So we will criticize you for not giving us data. Give us data. How many? If you don't know, say you provide it later. Okay? Anybody that tell you speak must speak from knowledge and educate us. Please go to the next person if you cannot answer that.
Well, we can provide data based on the one that we have been able to sell out and the one that we have in stock. We can do that. But I don't know, maybe you can also provide more data.
Thank you very much. A very brilliant question, sir. Remember when I started, we said we did the street mapping with the support of Gabe. We did the street mapping and we estimated that we have about 250,000 cubic meters of cold storage, thereabout. We think from all the various key sectors, if India is doing 330 million cubic per annum, if Nigeria can go to at least 2 million, for the size of the country, the population, 2 million cubic meters, I mean, so we're talking about 200,000 cold rooms. That's what we need. And an average price of between 2 to 5 million, you can do the math, is what, over 100 billion naira industry. Over, easily. Thank you, John.
So back up your statistics. You gave us a figure of 250,000 metric tons available. Yes, cubic meters of refrigerated space.
Absolutely, sir.
Now, what you actually say is that Nigeria has only 450,000 cubic meters.
No,
India has 330 million.
Absolutely.
I hope you understand. So let's put this in perspective to show how bad it is. All right, and we're telling not just the bankers, but we ourselves. The gentleman who spoke about compressors and so on. Do you even know the size of the market?
I can give you an example. Sorry, my name is John Taylor. I'm a director of a company called Jalinsa. We're also a bit.
Are you South African?
Well, I'm a little bit of everything. A little bit. So anyway, I can give you one statistic. ShopRite in Nigeria just purchased 120 compressors to replace existing compressors that are broken. They have in the country in total, this is just ShopRite, they have in total 296 compressors. So when you're talking about, who knows, and their cubic meters is tiny. When you're talking about, I'm in the process of building cold rooms in Port Harcourt at the moment.
Okay.
For 9,000 tons of fish. Okay. And those cold rooms, one cold room is 17,500 cubic meters. So 9,000 tons of fish. We were having a meeting last night and somebody said to me, 9,000 tons. I said, yes, 9 million kilograms of fish. And that's only one set of cold rooms. I'm busy doing the same again in future in Ikeja and then in Benin City as well. But these people that are building these cold rooms are financing it from their pocket. So it's only people, well-to-do people, that can afford to do this. So there's going to be no impact in the lower end of the market, if want of a better word, for cooperative farming and things like that. My suggestion, personal suggestion to the banks would be, no bank wants to take a risk, we understand that. Samson can back me up. Our businesses take the risk. This project was $1.5 million. My company risked $1.5 million to do the project. No bank wants to take a risk. Get the banks to collaborate, get together and form an agricultural bank. And all the banks put money into that bank, and that bank takes the risk. That's what should happen.
What's your first name?
My name is John.
John.
Yes.
I will start loving Johns when I see them. Thank you very much, John.
No problem.
All right then. Any other contribution, please?
One last OEM, and then we go to
Okay, then.
open it up to the house. Then we go to nice floor.
Case or Power and Engineering Limited. We are also into the turnkey solution provider for poultry, fish, and agri products. We are building cold stores and power solutions also. Now, at the present conditions, if we calculate the cost of having a cold store, transporting the tomato and bringing it down to mile 12 and selling it, maybe we are talking about a golden tomato sale. Because the capital investment required for the cold store with the renewable energy the capital cost is very high in that. Secondly, the transporting all the way from the north with the refrigerated container, you need to run a complete refrigerated system throughout down here. And when it comes to the market also, we need to have a storage facility and power cost. So that is one of the area which even in India we have the same problem. The cold chain maintained products and the market products coming directly from the market, the price difference is very high. When the tomato coming in an open vehicle, when it comes here maybe 1,000 naira per kilo, if you calculate the cost of transporting with a cold chain, it is getting to 1,500 or 2,000. So this project of cold chain, everybody talked about, okay, there is a solar possibility and there is possibility of LPG, possibility of natural gas, all that. Yes, but we need to arrive at a matrix. So, being OTACCWA have a complete set of people, like Lajan Grant has a set of panels building, and RTS has the logistics division, and also we are OEMs, we have the equipments, and we can also do some research. So, I would like OTACCWA to form a committee to do a research and come up with a figure which tells you, yes, cold chain is actually going to comparable with the normal way of, and by doing cold chain, what is the losses, how they are going to be compensated and how effective it is going to work out. So, OTACCWA should, in OTACCWA, we would like to be part of the research and take it up and demonstrate to the systems. Then once it is demonstrated, I think financial organizations, they will straight away come.
Thank you very much.
Partner for DFS Professional Services. I'm quite excited to be here this morning, and I'm also happy that I was able to come along with some SMEs that we try to make bankable for financing options and investment. But two things I want us to also pay attention to is, first, I think we are too narrow-minded about financing cold chain, and that's why we talk about banks. We definitely know banks will not put in their money without some of these rules and some of those things. Being disruptive means we have to look beyond the boundaries. We have to expand the frontiers. And I think financing coaching will not be the appropriate title to look at this breakfast, but to say investments in coaching opportunities in Nigeria. Today we are supposed to have stock exchange here, they are not here. We're supposed to have Nigerian stock exchange, we're supposed to have portfolio managers. Financing is just giving loan and collecting your loan back with return. We're talking about asset financing here. It's not the core of these banks. They will definitely bore us with the rhetorics of collaterals and all of that. They are regulated within that sector. And they always want to avoid the sledgehammer of the CBN. Today the CBN has expanded the loan to deposit ratio, but rather than looking at loan to deposit ratio to new lenders, they are looking at expanding to existing ones that they are already managing. I think we should look more outside that box so that we can, in South Africa, there are a lot of private equity firms that look at opportunities like this. We spoke about opportunities mapping in the cold chain. Look at it, 250,000 to 330 cubic meter. I mean, it's a huge gap that investors are looking at opportunities to get into. Not banks. Banks, you will be surprised that if OTACCWA is able to articulate this opportunity and present a summit that has investors sitting, looking at where to put equity investment. Equity investment is one of those things that can drive asset financing, because these guys are VCs, many of them angel investors, some of them private guys who are willing to put in their money and wait 7 years, and they are much more interested in the cash flow than in the collateral. Then the second option that we also need to expand is the fact that we are leaving the small holders out of this space, and after some 2-3 years, all of us operators in this room become so big that the bank will say we are giving 100 billion to that sector, and yet the small holders are still making it. The small holders, with me this money is one of those operators that produces ogi, and ogi in a cake form, and the only challenge she has had is storage, because these sellers, redistributors, and those retailers that are trying to extend this product feel constrained with storage. Do we have to turn everything to powder? And these are some of those opportunities that when we begin to open them, wonderful opportunities are in there for equity investment. And to Dr. Adeojo, you spoke about, I'm quite excited that you are an expert in climate financing. Today, green bonds are taking, they are disruptive enough. You are just talking about 100 billion naira investment in this whole sector, and it's going to change the narrative. Floating a 100 billion naira green bond, you only need, institutions that are into this to package this and present it on the floor. We will raise the money, and the banks will come to buy the bonds, but they will not give you the money to buy the trucks. But they will buy the bonds at 14% interest rate to boost their return. And then these operators here can return fantastic enough to pay the banks and pay other investors and have access to funding. There are opportunities that we should look at. Please let us a little extend our lenses away from the bank. I would have loved to add more. But
thank you. OTACCWA, I hope you're taking note of those.
The most important takeaway from this garden that I recommend is that team that could develop that ecosystem, which I would love you to be part of, that will build that bankable pipeline, right? A bond, in the funding trajectory, right? We are still at the initial incubation stage where we need grants and commercial banks to work with us, right? Then after that, the next ladder is the commercial bank giving us money. Then we go to the bond to refinance, we go to there's a lot of journey to go, right? But right now is to come together. That the opportunities you're talking about will only come out of that pipeline development, right? So let's start from that pipeline development, and let's invite this man to join that team to quickly work on this thing and bring his passion and spirit to fast track the production. Thank you so much.
In coastal logistics, and we've also been looking in Nigeria. What is it that we can do in Nigeria? We want to invest in cold storage in Nigeria, and it is our intention to build a platform here. The gentleman that spoke there saying that what we found out there, but we don't want to invest in people who are doing it in-house. We want to build what we call the third-party logistics provider. That means that there is no, it's open to everybody who wants to use this cold storage. That then creates a very unique challenges for us we are trying to address. Because if you're going to be a third-party logistics provider, you're looking at the way you treat fish is very different from the way you would treat your croissants or your cakes. You need very highly specialized. It requires a lot of trust in who that player will be. So how do I convince? There is a large cold chain market. It's all in-house at the moment. How do we convince those people that are doing it in-house to outsource completely to this third-party logistics provider? Because it's not their core business. It is not an efficient use of capital if you're a farmer to build your own cold storage, or for the example, that fish, I'm a fish producer. I don't want to care about transporting my fish or something. It's not the best use of your resource or capital. So it's something that we are looking at, and we're having lots of discussions, because when we look at the feedback that we've got from the market is that they will not give out the cold storage, in-house cold storage, unless we bring in very reputable players. So to the extent that we find those reputable players, so the other point I wanted to raise, we also did a study on this, is that depending on the products that we look, so our approach is that you need to look at the higher value products, and it goes to the point the gentleman raised at the back there, saying the cost of the cold storage compared to the value of the product you're selling. So we see this like growing organically. So you start off, and then you can start off with a high value product, and over time you can potentially, this is one idea, I'm sure that you can then look to, as the business gets scale, that we look to see that for the lower value products that you're able to do that. So it's that if we were to start on day one, just on tomatoes, we might not be able to get the economic case or the ability to do that. So we say that maybe it's the fish, maybe it's the chicken, and then we add on the vegetables as well to that. So, and the other thing I would say that we need is regulation. That there is no enforcement of regulation. If there is a requirement that we have to transport our fish and meat, etc., that's again an enabling factor and something that Ottawa can also push. I think they have to repeat it again. So that will go a long way as well, and saying if we have to, because if the gentleman is right, the cost of the cold chain, when you add it, people say, I'm just going to go and buy that 1,000 naira tomatoes or whatever it is and pay the value. So you who are trying to do it well is penalized out of the market. So we need to have the regulation as well.
That's a beautiful office, then you can enjoy it, okay? Because you're doing a lot of good works with NABG, and the arm of NABG that's involved in this cold chain is OTACCWA. So you are dealing directly with the people who will be involved in this cold chain in development.
And the setting here this morning is just one setting that NISAL is pleased to be in. You know, NISAL is that agency of the central bank that is devoted to working with stakeholders to de-risk the agricultural value chain, to facilitate the flow of financing into agribusiness. Central bank created that agency to work with deposit money banks to make them comfortable to create that handshake between agriculture, or agribusiness, and finance. So we don't do it alone, we work with stakeholders and various segments of the agribusiness enterprise value chain. What I am hearing from this setting, and by the way, our principal instrument is the credit risk guarantee. So listening here, I've had InfraCredit, I've had Garantco, I've had Gary, AFG, and all that. That within our own country, people are not talking about NESA, and that's a little strange. We have a portfolio of close to 89 billion cumulative guarantees issued to agribusinesses in this country. And of course, the thing about agribusiness in Nigeria is you want to moderate your publicity of what you do, because you ring a bell and all manner of people line up, and before you know it, you forget your mission. So we don't want to do that.
We are in brunch, exactly. We are in the process of raising a blended finance facility, and we hope that it would be operational in Nigeria. Today we had a first commitment from a donor, an anchor donor, so it's very good news. And it speaks to a lot of these issues inherent. So before you go running off to Michael and Augustine and Udwa and John for money, it'll take time, but we're raising it now, and it will speak to a lot of these issues, but it will be a demonstration pilot, because we need so much more. The need is so great. So just wanted to say we are in the process of trying to address these needs. Thank you
very much. Yes, let's hear from you, John, another John.
Thank you. You say you now begin to love us Johns, and I'm sure you love me. You like me, I'm sorry to speak. All right, I think I won't say anything more than what Greg has said. We're in the same industry, in the same organization. We have the same focus and vision. But I just want to address a point that was made by Jubril on the issue of cooperatives. Practically speaking, that's an angle that SMEs are even missing out. Because I belong to a cooperative, and you can imagine the enormous resources we have raised, and a lot of projects that has been executed, to a level where even central bank funding was given to this cooperative. You know, we're able to assess it. Individuals were able to assess it, but then because we had a robust cooperative, multi-purpose cooperative organization, that all of these people were coming on the platform. So as we speak about financing, and then thank God someone has talked about, you know, keeping a bit of a low eye, or I mean, just keeping it low on the issue of commercial funds. Let's also look at how well we can explore the opportunities that come with cooperatives. Thank you, and it's just nice being here. Thanks.
So, Bank of Industry have a leasing arm that will provide you with leasing for your trucks. They also have a microfinance bank that speaks to the farmers, and they're big with it. And Bank of Industry also provide loans at the most reasonable price when it comes to interest rates in Nigeria, with the longest tenure. So I would urge all of us to look at the opportunity of being financed by Bank of Industry, and also make it critical to have a business advisor. It is very important to have a business analyst look at your proposal before approaching any financial institution. You can always come to BI Investment and Trust. Our doors are open, and we'll be willing to walk you through the financing models available. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Finally, I will use the word collaboration, collaboration, collaboration. Let me tell everybody here present, whatever industry you are in, you are a small, insignificant organization, given the enormity of the possibilities ahead of us. So the idea of we are competitors does not arise. We don't even have any competitors. So you need to collaborate with each other. The OEMs get to know each other, work together. The market is big, it's huge, it's humongous. All the service providers must adopt the same attitude. You don't say because I build trucks and therefore I don't want the other people to know what I'm doing. You're just wasting your time because you'll be overtaken in no time. But if you collaborate with each other, we will benefit. All of us will benefit. So So the word that was used earlier on about collaboration is not just between the financial institutions and those in the agri sector. No, everybody should collaborate with everybody and share your knowledge. We have a long way to go and we need to go on that journey together, holding each other hand in hand. Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure for those who are offended. We tell them that I will not apologize here because I will still offend them some other time. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.